Hello world, it's 29th of January and we're looking at a soaring forecast for Worcester tomorrow, 30th of January 2021. Let's start off over here. This is Worcester at 2 o'clock and you can see we've got a convection up to about 6,000 feet. Wind of about 10 knots coming in from the northwest, going westerly. By 5 o'clock, we can see that coastal wind is affecting the convection, and it's looking a bit mixed up in the valley, but there should still be some energy on the mountains. Looking at cloud at 2 o'clock, we can see there is some cloud out towards the east, but it's high cloud. This is 6,500, 7,000 feet. And by 5 o'clock, we've got some cloud coming in around Robertson and out to the east. It's still high at about, still over 6,000 feet. It's swollen up. A little bit lower if you go further east, but not a problem. The wind is generally from the southwest. It's blowing onto these ridges at a little bit slower, between 10 and 12 knots, 10 and 12 knots there as well. Better valleys in the wind shadow behind the Rafisona in mountains. We've got some wind spurting in through the Bainskloof, which is giving us this northwesterly flow at Worcester. But 2 o'clock, zooming out, southwest onto the Langeberg Ridge past Swellendam, but a bit slower, about 8 to 10 knots, and good 10 knots, slightly more on the Cederberg, Porterville Ridge, and the Bitzenberg. 5 o'clock, we can see the wind speeds picking up now, but over 10 knots in most of these places. Still 8 to 10 on the Witzenberg, 10 to 12 on the Langeberg. And zooming out, Swellendam, speeds dropping off again below 10 knots. So generally not very strong winds, hopefully over 10 knots in quite a few places. That's more or less enough to get the ridges working. Looking at the height of the critical updraft strength, this looks quite good in the Breda River Valley. And to the north, we've got between 4,000 and 5,000 feet at Porterville. And still 4,000 to 5,000 feet on the Cederberg Ridge here, getting a bit high as you go inland. Swellendam, as we've seen before, with the cloud base, sitting nicely at 6,000 feet. Zooming out to 5 o'clock, still good lift with this convergence, some dead spots in the valley. Witzenberg, 4,000 to 5,000 feet. Porterville, a little bit lower, 4,500 feet maybe, and some heights on the Langeberg as you go west, about between 5,000 and 6,000 feet. So yes, that also looks quite good. Let's look at some detailed options. This is task options, wrong button, that. Tilbach, 2 o'clock, looking good. West-southwest wind, just on 10 knots on the ridge. Convection up to over 5,000 feet. 5 o'clock, it's still working, a little bit cooler in the valley. Still some wind on the ridge and blowing in the right direction. Porterville, looking good at 2 o'clock. And coastal air affecting it a bit by 5, but the still over 10 knots of wind coming in at a useful angle, not too southerly, and still got some convection. Robertson looking good at 2 o'clock, but the wind speed here is very low, so that's mainly just convection. By 5 o'clock we can see there's a touch of cloud, but at low level this coastal wind is messing things around a bit. Swellendam at 2 o'clock looking very nice. That's 10 knots of wind that's blowing southwesterly, not quite directly onto the ridge, but still a useful wind. Just to compare Swellendam, this is 2 o'clock today versus 2 o'clock tomorrow. You can see that tomorrow is definitely looking a bit more exciting. I know that some of you spent a fair bit of time in Swellendam today. By 5 o'clock, Swellendam is cooling off. There's still a touch of cloud. The wind is coming more from the south, and nearly 10-12 knots near ground level. Worcester, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, we can see is still quite cool. Convection just over 4,000 feet. It's possibly able to start launching, but you probably need it to be a bit stronger before you can really get going. So start tomorrow, maybe 11:30, say. Just looking quickly at the ridge back maximum up-down motion. This looks to me a little bit stronger than it did on last night's forecast. So it's getting over 2 meters in quite a lot of these ridges. So maybe a slightly better day tomorrow than today. At 5 o'clock, we can see that we've got this convergence again from the winds pulling into the Breda River Valley. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed your flying, and tomorrow, fly carefully, have fun, and enjoy the magic.